In this video, we're going to talk about setting up obstacles using cloning and a thing called a list to place our clones in our game. What I need to be able to do is have cars go from left to right on the screen and logs go from left to right on the screen. Since all of these cars share the same code, I want to actually put these on a single sprite instead of multiple sprites. This helps us in two ways. One, it keeps your game organized by not having too many obstacles or sprites in our game. Two, if we want to modify or change or mess with some code, we can do that and have it affect all of the obstacles instead of just one at a time. This game only has a few obstacles, but you can imagine if there was many obstacles in a game, it can be very tedious and error prone in order to change the same set of code across many different sprites of that game. So here's how it's going to work. One, I have an obstacle here. It is a car. I also have logs in as this, and I can show you how we can do that as well. I can show my car, and you can see it is here, and I can drag it anywhere. But since I only want to handle this with clones, we're going to actually hide that at our event start. Now, what we want to do is have at least 4 cars going across the top here. To do that, we can create a clone. If we go down to control, there is a block here that says create clone of myself. What this does is it creates an instance of a clone. And you can actually clone other items as well, but we want to create an instance of this object, and we can do this to allow many different instances of a single object on our game. If I were to go ahead and also add the when I start as clone, what this does is it will attach code blocks to any clone that has just been created. So if I take my look block and I say show, if I were to start this game again, you can see that a clone has been created of this object, of this sprite. Now we're going to want more than one of these, and so we're going to actually repeat this. Let's go to a repeat block, and we're going to add that repeat to the clone. We want 4 of these. Let's see how that works. If we press stop and the green flag again, it only looks like there is one clone. If we were to try to drag this around, you will actually see that there is more than one clone. What we have is 4 different clones. They are all on top of each other in the same location. We need to have a way to make them not appear in the exact same spot. We can do that when we start as a clone. Let's have them move to a different location. I'm going to have them move to a random spot on our x-axis, somewhere between -200 and +200, and try this again. There they are. They're all here. Some of them are still stacked on top of each other, which is not the best, but at least they're not directly on top of each other. Every time I press the green flag, they all end up in a different spot. Our next task is to try to get them to move up. So we have one on this lane, another one on this lane, third, and then fourth. To do that, we need to actually know what these lane Y positions are. If we know what they are, then we can put them into a list and then access those. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect this for now and then show this car, and you can see its Y position is around -110. That's the first lane. Maybe -105 would be a little bit better. The second lane is about -73. Third lane is -45. And the fifth lane is -15. We can store those in what we call a list. In our variables area, there is darker orange codes, and they are called lists. If you press make a list, we can call this lanes. And now I have an empty list. To add to the list, I can press this little plus button here. If you don't see this block, you can press the check mark next to the list to show or hide it. I'm going to press this plus button to add to my list. I'm going to put in that first lane, which I believe was -105. The second lane was 30 away from that at -75. The other lane was another 30 away at -45. And the last lane was -15. Now what I need to do, reconnect my cloning. And this time in the Y position, I need to be able to put in these lane numbers. Of course, only one at a time right now. So in my repeat block, when I create a clone of myself, I want to be able to add in its Y position respectively. We can access those by utilizing this block here. This is item number of whatever lane is in this drop-down menu. If I place that inside my Y position, then all of the cars go to the first lane because they are accessing the first item, which is -105, of my lanes list. If I change this to item number 2, you will see that all the cars move to the second lane because they are accessing the second item of the lanes list. Now, we need this to change every time we do a loop. So this repeat block is looping through the code, and when they create a clone and start as a clone, they act on it with the code that's attached to this event. I could create a new variable, lane number, and when I start my game, set my lane number to 0. Now, in my repeat block, I could change that lane number by 1 so that the first time we repeat, the variable is 1. The second time we make a repeat, the variable is going to be 2. And then 3 the third time, 4 the fourth time. If I now place that lane number into my items of this lane, we should see all of the cars move on to a different lane because this variable is changing which item number in the lanes list we are accessing. Ta-da, there it is. Each one of the cars is in their own separate lane. We could extend this by creating more lists and going further up. I will show you how to do that with logs. I'm going to go ahead and add some numbers here. I know I was going by 30 each one of these, but I need to skip a lane. So my next one should be 60 units more than the last one, which is going to be a positive 45. Then I'll add 30 to that one to make 75. Another 30 to make 105. And a last lane to make 135. This time I'm going to increase my repeats. Instead of 4, I'm going to need 8. There we go. The cars show up in every lane. Now we can also change the appearance this way. If we add a control block, and we ask about its particular position, we can change the way this will appear. If the Y position is less than 0, because you'll notice that all of the cars, their lane numbers were all negative. So if their Y position is less than 0, we can ensure they are on the car costume. And we can switch all other sprites to go to the log costume. Make sure we show at the end. There they are. For the logs, we can also adjust their size. So let's adjust the size of this to make it look right. Those are pretty good. And for the cars, we can actually change their color too. So let's set the color effect on the cars to somewhere between 0 and 100. And now we have different colored cars and logs. You'll notice in our game, we don't use logs every one. The second and the fourth one are turtles. Those are good challenges for you to try to figure out. Another great challenge for you to try to tackle is how do you make it so that each lane has more than one car or more than one log? Think about how we utilize this loop here, and if there is a way to add some code there to make more per lane. It just so happens that it's important for us to use our critical thinking skills and our problem-solving skills to get us through how to make the game just right and not just focus on copying the kind of code that you see. It's super important that you learn the code, not just duplicate it. Thank you.